first taught to fly in a Boeing Stearman, took advanced training in the North American T-6 Texan, but actually conducted his carrier qualifications in a fleet aircraft, in this case the Grumman TBF Avenger that was before us. So on June 11, 1943, then Ensign Banta was carrier qualifying aboard the USS Wolverine, the paddle ship that was named in honor of the state of Michigan, the Wolverine State. Having made a couple of landings and takeoffs, he was on a downwind leg for another landing when he realized he was on fire. And that reminds me of an old aviator joke, is the only time you have too much fuel is when you're on fire. From there. With visible flames coming from underneath his engine cowling, Bob actually wanted to make an immediate landing aboard the Wolverine in an attempt to save the Avenger. But the landing signal officer, a naval aviator who was expertly trained in landing aircraft aboard a carrier, was having absolutely no part of that. He waved Bob off and directed Bob to make a water landing. Now, has anybody here seen the video of Bob describing the emergency landing from here? If you listen to it, you get the impression that Bob is just cool as a cucumber. Even though he's an ensign with probably less than 100 hours under his belt, he is just ready to handle this emergency. The interviewer, who is obviously a former carrier aviator, sounds a little bit confused at this point and asks Bob, what does a ditching signal from a landing signal officer look like? Bob replied is, he just took his paddles and pointed them down to the water. It's not a standard procedure, but I understood exactly what he meant. So Bob immediately raised his landing gear, flew parallel to the Wolverine's port side, and set the Avenger down gently in the water forward of the carrier. The water was calm, and Bob described it as a very easy landing. The Avenger actually remained afloat. Bob stepped out on a wing and pulled out his life raft, but he didn't need it. A chase boat, which in the neighborhood we usually call a coffin chaser, came alongside, picked him up, and delivered him right back to the Wolverine. So it was just all in a day's flying for Bob. And the Avenger at that point was less than a year old when it went into the water. Bob went on to complete his carrier qualifications and was assigned as an Avenger instructor, reporting to Torpedo Squadron 12 aboard the USS Randolph CB-15 and deploying to the Pacific in January 1945. Now, as Bob notes, by the time he arrived in the Pacific Combat Zone in early 1945, there were no longer any Japanese warships worth dropping torpedoes on. So his squadron was used primarily to bomb ground targets, including raids against the Japanese mainland, the first raids since the Doolittle raids in 1942. And so the Avenger gained a highly guarded reputation as an extremely accurate bombing platform. And in fact, it was while leading a bombing mission on February 7, 1945, against the Tachikawa Aircraft and Engine Manufacturing Plant, only 15 miles from Tokyo, that then Lieutenant Junior Grade Robert Banta was awarded a Distinguished Flying Cross. He pressed home an attack despite heavy anti-aircraft fire and the opposition of enemy fighters, and dropped 4 500 pounds exactly on target. And as he exited the target area, he glimpsed to his left, and all he could see was the beautiful snow-capped Mount Fuji, a small glimpse of beauty amid so much destruction. Bob's squadron was also tasked with providing close air support for Marines ashore on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. And it was while conducting close air support missions on Okinawa, while flying another Avenger, he was severely hit by anti-aircraft fire. The airplane never flew again because of the damage. He remained overnight, and the next day his commanding officer flew in to pick him up and return him to his carrier. He returned to combat flying until a replacement air group came aboard, and in June 1945, his squadron returned home. Meanwhile, the Avenger behind us that he had ditched in Lake Michigan waited silently on the cold lakebed graveyard, alongside scores of U.S. Navy planes that had been lost from the Wolverine and her sister ship, the Sable. And this was a far better fate than what had happened to nearly all of the other surviving Avengers. Because when you look at the post-World War II mobilization period, they were all sold to salvage yards and broken up, and I think there's less than 70 surviving aircraft of the 10,000. An era had ended. The Grumman TBF and TBM Avengers were the last torpedo bombers ever ordered into production by the U.S. Navy. When Bob's Avenger was pulled from the bottom of Lake Michigan nearly 50 years ago and eventually delivered to the restoration team here at Deland Naval Air Station Museum, a piece of our aviation history was saved to be remembered, valued, and honored. In closing, God bless Bob Banta for his service to his country. God bless the restoration team for their beautiful work. And God bless all our men and women in the U.S. military, wherever they may be deployed in the world today. Thank you.